Hello, everyone. I'm thrilled to be joining you all at the 20th year of the Women's Global Leadership Conference in Energy. Today's presentation focuses on conversational skills to open possibilities. At the Taligens Group, we believe that difficult conversations, though they may be uncomfortable at times, are key moments for building deeper trust and opening new possibilities for those involved. We want to explore that in this video. Throughout the presentation, we'll explore how to prepare for and have difficult conversations, not as something to avoid, but as something to embrace. We're going to cover the power that language has to create new realities, listening to the unspoken concerns of others and building deeper relations of care, the power of offers, how a rarely used move in organizations can translate into new shared possibilities and value, and how all of this applies to difficult conversations like delivering feedback, negotiating raises, and gaining support for initiatives. I hope you enjoy the conversation. Let's begin. We're going to dive right in by talking about the role language plays in our lives. Why language? Well, we're going to be exploring difficult conversations, and all conversations happen in language. So language is a pretty good place to start. Just like fish are oblivious to the water in which they swim, we spend our lives in language, but we rarely take a look at what it is and what it does. We might think of language as a tool we use to describe things, or the medium through which we share information. But language is much more than that. We shape and create the world we live in through language. So, for example, take me, a fellow attendee at this conference. If I were to say, this conference room is really cold, I wish someone would turn up the heat. Well, I might get a nod or some agreement from someone, but perhaps not much more. Now, however, if I were the keynote speaker and I were up at the mic delivering my talk and I said the exact same thing, it's very likely you'd see everyone's head turn to watch as someone races down the aisle to go turn up the thermostat. In the latter case, reality would be changed for the entire audience based on a few words of the speaker. The language we use creates the world we live in. It has power, depending on who and under what circumstances we use it. In addition, there's an aspect of language which actively creates the world. Imagine another situation in which you're out job hunting and you apply for a new job in a new company. Try as you may, you will not be working for that new company until someone either makes you an offer, which typically takes the form of an offer letter, or they say you're hired. This simple phrase, "you're hired," is known as a speech act. Speech acts are aspects of language identified by J.L. Austin, who was a British philosopher in the mid-20th century. With speech acts, we aren't just using language as a tool to describe the world. We are creating the world in the moment we speak. For example, when a person with authority says, "you're hired," you go from not having that job to having that job, just through an act of speaking. At a high level, when it comes to effective communication and coordination, there are 6 categories of speech acts that we look at, each of which creates the world in some way. They are requests, promises, offers, declarations, assessments, and assertions. So if you're looking at why there's lots of meetings that you have on your calendar and nothing comes out of them, or why people are talking past each other without resolving anything, you can look here at speech acts. By building skills in your teams to observe and use speech acts, you can become more effective teams. So for this presentation, we're not going to go into much detail on speech acts. Really, we're only going to focus on offers a little bit later on, but I wanted to make you briefly aware of them. And all of this is to highlight the power that we have to create new realities in conversations. When we build skills to watch what we do in language and in conversations, and we do those new things, we allow new possibilities to open up and new futures to be built. All of that I find pretty exciting. So being aware of all of this, how do we prepare ourselves better for what we call difficult conversations? How can we change reality through difficult conversations in a meaningful way for all of those involved? To get there, let's first explore the other side of language, listening. Listening is an essential skill in any conversation. It is different than hearing, which is our ability to perceive and make sense of sounds, like a passing car, a bird, or a friend's voice. Listening, on the other hand, isn't dependent on our physical ability to hear, and it's not even sometimes dependent on what is said. People with hearing loss don't need to hear auditory sounds to listen. And a good listener knows that listening to what is not said is just as important, if not more so, than listening to what is said. So what is listening? Listening is the ability to interpret what someone is saying or expressing and ascribing meaning and understanding to it. Going a step further, one might say that effective listening is the ability to bring forth possibilities that were not available before for a particular individual or community being listened to. So in other words, one knows that one has listened well when one can bring forth new possibilities for someone that they previously didn't have. If you've ever had a coach or a therapist or a mentor, you might have had the experience of feeling truly listened to. The mentor says something to us, and we respond with, "Wow, you're so right. I actually never saw it that way before, but it makes a lot of sense. I can see an entirely different way of approaching the situation going forward." The mentor is able to listen to what we were saying in such a way that they can open a new direction and a new possibility for us. In this video, we want to look at how we can listen better in difficult conversations so that we don't suffer them, but they actually become opportunities to bring about new possibilities for those involved. For us, the key to this lies in listening not just to the words that people say, but to often the unspoken concerns they have. In this video, concerns are not just the worries that someone might have. We want to broaden the idea of concerns to what is it that we care about, what matters to us. For me, I have concerns for my family, my body, my career, my community. These are all things I care about, all things that matter to me. Our concerns drive a lot of what we do and what we choose not to do. And interestingly enough, they often go unspoken. A parent may have a concern for the health and well-being of their child. This will get them out of bed every day to go to work and earn money so they can provide food for their child. A professional might have a concern for their long-term career trajectory, which means they might take that extra assignment in the hopes of learning and advancement. When we learn to listen to what people care about, their concerns, we begin to attune ourselves to others, and we can open more powerful possibilities for them. When working in an organization, you can listen to different areas of concern. For this video, we will focus on two areas of concern, the operational and the existential. I know, it's a big word. Operational concerns are the concerns that drive the day-to-day work that people do and that underline their role in the organization. When looking to discover the concerns of others, be curious about the other person. You can ask them questions like those on these slides to better understand what background commitments this person has that is organizing their life and work. So for example, what promises does this person have? To whom have they made those promises? Are any of those promises at risk? If so, which ones and how? When we listen to what the promises are for that person and whom they have them to, we have an idea of what they care about, and by extension, what drives their decision-making process. And when we know where their promises may be at risk, we begin to know where some of their worries might be, and this opens up the potential for an offer to be made. Knowing this is a win for any salesperson, or anyone who's actually looking to make an offer to someone else in an organization. If your offer can help them take care of a promise that is at risk, it is more likely to be accepted. Now, existential concerns are connected with how this person sees themselves in life and who they want to be, both now and into the future. These concerns drive how the person acts, the values they live by, and what they're looking to do over the course of their career. One might think about this as a person's career aspirations, but it can go beyond just their careers. Questions to explore here may include, what is this person looking for in their life or career? What brings their life meaning? What roles do they play in different areas of their lives, at home, at work, at play? What do they want to achieve in these areas? Where are they stuck? Where is their identity at risk? Again, with these questions, you may begin to see what people care about and where they're having difficulties taking care of what they care about. Depending on the level of trust and professional intimacy you have, you may not ask someone these exact questions. Instead, you ask them something about their family and how everyone is doing. You might connect with them around a hobby they have and love. Even if you don't have a space where you feel comfortable directly asking these questions, we still suggest you have these questions in the back of your head. They can be worth asking to explore what is driving this individual. What might they be looking to achieve? And what might they be worried about? So, in addition, when going into a difficult conversation, it is important to reflect on what concerns you bring to the situation. What promises do you have which are at risk? What are you looking to achieve in your job or career? And where may you be stuck? This will help you gain a sense of what is driving you in the conversation and bring more clarity to what matters to you here. As you listen to all of these concerns of different individuals, you can also begin to understand what is getting in their way or at risk for them around this concern. And it's from here where you begin to help this person take care of what they care about, and you can begin to make meaningful offers to this person. So we're going to explore offers and their role in difficult conversations in more detail in the next sections. So at this point, we've discussed how we can create possibilities in language and how we can listen more deeply to the unspoken concerns of people. In this section, we will look at how we can make offers to take care of the concerns of these individuals. But before going there, I wanted to pull back 1 second and talk a bit about difficult conversations. So for me, when I hear the words difficult conversation, I begin to almost like cringe inside or get a bit nervous. So, it's like, ooh, difficult conversations, those sound tough. I don't think I'll like that. In this whole presentation, what we're looking to do is reframe what we might call difficult conversations so that they don't seem as scary or as difficult. The first thing to think about is that often when we begin skill in doing something, including having certain types of conversations, and when we have the experience of them going smoothly, we gain more confidence in doing them and they don't seem as bad. So another way to say this is that difficult conversations may become less difficult as we have more experience in doing them. The second point is that we might consider a difficult conversation something which actually can be an opportunity to discover new possibilities and create a new future. For example, the difficult conversation of giving someone constructive feedback can be an opportunity to help someone stuck in their career uncover something that is keeping them stuck and to finally progress in their career. And it can also be a possibility for us to have a more amiable colleague to work with. So how do offers play into this? As discussed before, offers are a form of speech act. They're also often one of the most underutilized speech acts in an organization. In most companies, action is primarily initiated through requests, like, can you do this for me? Can you get me that report? Can you get this over here? However, when an organization pivots from being primarily a request-driven one to one in which offers play an equal role, such so that you're more like, I can do this, I can do this for you. Can I do this for you? If I do this for you in exchange for this, how does that work? So leaders, when they see that, they get more empowerment and ownership in their teams. And when we've listened well to the concerns of others, we can make offers which address the concerns of others and open new possibilities for people. Instead of the conversation being driven by request and what can you do for me, the relationship becomes one more of service and what can I do for you? When done well, offers create win-win scenarios, strengthen relationships, and build trust. Okay, so let's bring all this together with some practical examples. How do these skills we've talked about, listening for concerns, reframing the conversation, and making offers, show up in real-world scenarios? Imagine you're a new manager and you have to give someone constructive performance feedback. There are various approaches to giving feedback, and a lot of them are really great. What we want to share with you right now is an approach based on what we've talked about so far. The first step is that prior to giving feedback, you learn more about the person you're giving feedback to. And ideally, this would have happened in an earlier conversation and not in the same performance feedback conversation you're about to have with the person. That can get difficult and seem inauthentic as you give feedback. So in an earlier conversation, you would have been curious about who your team member wants to be in their life, what they want from their career, what they care about. You would have some sense of their existential concerns. And as a manager who is interested in developing that person, those concerns would matter to you. So the difference between who they want to become and the skills or style that they have now becomes the gap into which you can make an offer. And your feedback can be that offer. When you give the performance feedback, the feedback could be connected with their concerns. You can start by sharing back to them your understanding what they are looking for in their career. So for example, Manuel, we've spoken many times about how you'd like to be a supervisor of a team. One of the aspects of overseeing a team is how well you can manage the commitments of your team to ensure they are delivered on time. And I have some feedback for you. You've been late on the last 5 deliverables, one which was a very important report. As you look to develop and create the identity you want to have, this will be important for you to change. And I'd like to figure out with you now how to change that going forward. So all of this can open a further conversation with the individual to align around what good performance could look like and what steps they can take to build new skills or habits there. What was once a difficult conversation becomes an opportunity to take care of the person you are managing. You can take care of their identity, their career, and just generally things that they care about. So now we can take a look at a different difficult conversation, negotiating a raise or promotion. If you are or were an employee looking for a promotion or raise, you might be wondering what's the best way to convince your boss that you are ready for that promotion or that you deserve that raise. We can imagine a dialogue that goes something like this. Hi, Janelle. I'd like to talk to you about my salary. I think it's time for me to get a raise. I've done all of this work and I deserve it. Now, this is a pretty common scenario for leaders and organizations, and people of you who are like Janelle may have experienced it. And the challenge is that isn't too much for you to do here. Well, you can have a conversation with that person so the boss can talk to you. It really becomes something that the leader now has to solve. So they either have to find you more funds to pay you, or they have to have a conversation with you about why you're not ready right now for a raise. So the question is, how do you shift this potentially difficult conversation into something that adds value to the people involved in it? And the most straightforward answer is, think of it as you making an offer to your boss instead of a request. Focus on aligning yourself with your boss's concerns, whether they're tactical, strategic, or otherwise, and you'll have a much better chance of landing that promotion or getting that raise. If rather than simply asking for money or for another job, you focus on understanding your boss's concerns, like what is their position and identity in the company? What are their key promises and goals? Where are those at risk? What are their budgetary constraints this year? And understanding how you can help them take care of what they care about, you have a better chance of making an offer that resonates with your boss's world. And therefore, you significantly improve the probability that your offer will be accepted. What was once a difficult conversation becomes an opportunity for co-invention on shared value for all parties involved. Finally, let's say you are a project manager for a technology implementation, and you'd like to gain buy-in for your initiative across the organization. Now, as happens all too often in organizations, the person who has the idea and authority to do a technology implementation often pushes the initiative through without talking to everyone involved. The conversations become about telling various stakeholders what is going to happen without first getting alignment from them. And this can produce a lot of change resistance and some very angry people throughout the organization, followed by many difficult conversations. So how would you have this conversation differently? Start by listening to the concerns of stakeholders across the organization. Understand their worlds and what they are trying to achieve in their work, not what you are trying to achieve with this implementation. So what are their promises? Where are they stuck? What is or isn't working for them right now? From this, you can see how this new technology might help them take care of the things they are trying to do. In this case, it isn't a one-off conversation, but it often requires a lot of back and forth to understand the various concerns of different stakeholders. And you can really help to articulate through this what this new technology will bring that will help them take care of what they're concerned about. You can also use this then to outline KPIs and agree KPIs and goals for the initiative. These are sort of the offers that are aligned with their concerns. So in this case, what might have been a challenging conversation initially can become a place of co-creation and shared commitment going forward. Well, this approach may take a little bit more time up front, the investment can produce a much smoother initiative further on down the road with less change resistance on the back end. Finally, we wanted to leave with you with a few practical steps to prepare mentally and physically for your next difficult conversation. You can do these before you head into the conversation and even during the conversation if you find yourself getting tense and anxious. So first, pause, breathe, and smile. Take a few minutes to relax your body prior to the conversation, allowing your breath to easily go in and out. So for myself, before a very challenging conversation, I try and carve some space for myself to actually lie down on my back with my knees bent on the floor, and I give my body a few minutes to fully relax. This allows me to be fully present and receptive to what shows up in the conversation. Second, orient yourself towards the other person. Before beginning the conversation, reshift your attention to the other person. Instead of focusing on your own fears and worries, try to bring compassion and care for the other person, asking yourself, what do they care about here? What are their concerns? And third, come into the conversation in a mood of curiosity. So curiosity keeps you open to new possibilities, even in uncomfortable moments. When someone says something that you don't expect, you can explore more with them why they say that, and you both may discover something new in the process. In a world that is ever more complex and challenging, the conversations we have matter more than ever. When it comes to difficult conversations, by focusing on the other person, understanding and caring about their concerns, and making offers to help address them, one can build greater trust, deeper connections, and more interesting possibilities with others. And those difficult conversations become less intimidating and more rewarding. So thank you for your time. I hope you have some wonderful, difficult conversations in your future. Bye.